Okay. Hello, Antonio of the future. Let's see if the bites get to your stomach.
So I think we'll give it like 5 more minutes. Some more people roll in. We'll get started. Okay, I think we're gonna get started. I'll just watch the door and let people in if they come by. I think they'll be okay. Before we started, thank you everybody for coming. I won't touch your mic. Hey, I know it's to your height. I don't have small seat. Um, Thanks everybody for coming. Good to see faces here. I know the weather was iffy. Nobody knew. But thanks for braving it and showing up. Tonight, Nate's going to be talking. Before that, I want to say thanks to IDX for letting us do this here. It's always nice of them. I want to say thanks to Slice, the place where I get the pizza from. They're always very accommodating. Always happy to have pizza. They're just down the road and in the Whitaker. If you're hungry for pizza, please visit them and support them. Yeah, I think that's about it for announcements. I'm just going to let Nate take it away.
Thanks for coming out and spending our evening with me. I have a thing that is going to help me with this talk. It'll help kind of get me through. So the first sticky note, I need to remember. I need to ask you if you've taken notes before. One hand, two hands. What do you use to take notes? Markdown. That's great. Paper. Anybody else? Microsoft Word. Nice. Cool. And then why do you take notes? Hey, welcome. Thanks for coming. Yeah, for reference, later reference, for classes. Yeah, learning, a lot of good reasons. Well, cool. I feel like I'm in good company then, as a fellow practitioner of note taking. And yeah, that's the first question. I wanted to talk a little bit about how I arrived at Obsidian. Um, I started using Obsidian on March 8th. I know that because I checked my Obsidian, and there's a note from March 8th. I found out about it from my mentor who was using it for learning complex, like math, fancy math. And at the time, I thought that's too fancy for me. I don't want to use it. And then 6 months later, I rediscovered it and forgot that he had told me that. And then I went and I called him up and I said, "Oh my goodness, you should check out Obsidian. This is really cool." And he said, "Yeah, I've been using it. I told you about it." Oh, okay, cool. So I've been using it for a year, and it's kind of cool. I wanted to show you this little visualization. These are the first two notes that I created, and as you can see, that the notes are kind of slowly getting created over time. The animation looks better on my screen because HDMI doesn't work, and we're on like a Google Meet sharing over there, but it looks cool on my screen. Yeah, all these notes are just kind of connecting. So when I discovered Obsidian, I did some research and kind of stumbled across this guy named Nicholas Luhmann, who's a social theorist from Germany, and he kind of popularized this idea of a Zettelkasten, and a Zettelkasten is German for slipbox. So he basically, at the end of his life, they have his Zettelkasten in a museum, and it was 90,000 notes, and he used his Zettelkasten to write his dissertation. Wow, this is sinking. He used his Zettelkasten to write his dissertation in under 1 year, which is pretty impressive. He also wrote 50 books during his lifetime, which is another impressive feat. And he didn't use a he never stared at a blank page. He always kind of relied on his notes. So 90,000, that's about 6 notes every weekday that he would write, and he would take literature notes, and it was all manual. He had an index that would kind of help keep track, and he would have atomic ideas on each 3x5 note card. And he had a whole analog system that he used. But now we have digital tools, and so that's where Obsidian kind of comes in. There's 3 things that Obsidian does really well, and there's other tools out there like Notion and Roam, off the top of my head, that you can check out. They kind of do a similar thing, but what I found was it's helpful to have a tool for externalization. So like I have one of these, and I don't really reference it very much, kind of how you use notes, it's mostly just kind of scribbling down thoughts and keeping track of conversations, and it's like a little thinking tool. You can kind of have a conversation with a page. If you don't have someone with you, you can write stuff down and get it out of your brain so you can look at it on a paper and just dump it all out. And it also helps you crystallize ideas. If you have some idea that you're, walking around thinking about, it helps to get it, on paper. And so Obsidian helps with that. Just in digital format, you can write stuff out. Of course, the big thing that you're seeing on the screen right now is interlinking. So externalization, if you're taking notes, the three big points that I'm making is externalization, interlinking, and fluid structure. So interlinking, there's all these connections that you can form in your Obsidian. When you're taking notes, you might end up with this huge note, and then you might find that you want to consolidate things into other notes, and Obsidian makes this really easy. And what I've found is that the notes are really valuable, but the thing that's even more valuable are the connections between the notes. And so if you have one note, you might have a connection to itself. If you have two notes, like you have a note on an apple and an orange, how many connections can you have? One. And if you have three notes, how many connections can you have? Three, right? One, two, three. If you have four notes, though, now you have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And if you have 5 notes, so this is actually graph theory, that you'd have a complete graph if they were all connected to each other. I think you would have 10 connections. And if you kept going, the formula would be n times n minus 1 all over 2 to figure out kind of the number of connections. And this is interesting because there's so much potential that you have when you're writing stuff down, and you end up with kind of arbitrary categories that don't really make sense sometimes. So like you might have your notes on history and your notes on politics, but that's not really. These are obviously they're not mutually exclusive. You can have a note that exists in both kind of categories, and so interlinking is a really useful way of organizing knowledge. So, for example, that pink node down there, you can see that it's got a bunch of things connected to it, and it's formed a little cluster. And so the organization kind of comes from the content itself. And that kind of leads me to talk about fluid structure. So you'll find that as you write using this tool, that you don't need to come at it with a predetermined set of organizational rules. Like, have you heard of it is a Dewey Decimal System, or the Johnny, what is it called? Dewey Decimal System, or just directories of hierarchies. These are all helpful tools, but if you're just trying to kind of take notes freely and look for surprising connections between the notes that you make, you might find that they get in the way more than they help. And so this idea of a fluid structure is important to me, at least when I'm writing things in my Obsidian. And it's also very reflective of how our brains work, because we think and we have an idea and it reminds us of some other idea. Like I might think about a garden, and then I might start thinking about a tomato and some other things. And they're all just kind of linked together. I don't like go to a folder in my head that's gardening, and my kids are not in that folder because it's gardening. I might think, oh yeah, my kids play in the garden. So yeah, they also have to do with gardening. And so I find there's that adage of like everything is connected. So it's a very useful way of externalizing things because of that interconnectivity and the fluid structure, where you find it just kind of emerging. So I'm already down to this sticky note, and I'm moving fast. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into showing off a little bit of Obsidian. So we'll have more time for discussion and Q&A, and then I want to demo a couple of things. And I'm going to try and fix this mic really quick, so if you need to grab a piece of pizza or something while I'm doing this, you can. right, it's working. Okay, cool. All right, so let's take a look at this. I'm gonna use my Obsidian because there's potentially embarrassing material in my own Obsidian. So, um, you can get Obsidian by going to obsidian.md. You can download it for free. It it works on every platform, mobile, desktop. The way they make money is by you can pay for their kind of their backup sync service that's encrypted, or you can pay for their publishing that allows you to publish your notes online. Um, so here's like an example of, well, that one's not online, but some of these are online. Um, and so you can kind of, you know, use, check some of these out. There's different themes and things. And then this is also a paid service. But the big thing that is good about Obsidian is it allows you to own your own data. Some tools like Roam or Notion that puts your data in a database that's online, and that's not good because if these companies go under, then your data isn't your own. And Obsidian uses a flat file markdown system under the hood. So you just have a folder with text files essentially, and that's very portable. So if Obsidian ever goes away, then you could take your text files someplace else. Very easy to back up. You can version control them. They're very simple. So Obsidian really just gives you a nice abstract layer of kind of working with that data. Okay, so I'm going to do a little demo. I'm going to go, you probably can't see this, but I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to open a vault, and then I'm going to create a new vault here, and we're going to call it Garden. And we'll go ahead and create this. Oh, I need to pick a location. That's probably fine. So here's our new vault. So there's no files open. Can you see this okay? Okay, this is the basic kind of interface. There's no files open. This just created a folder on my hard drive, basically. And I could put this in like iCloud or Google Drive or something like that. So let's go ahead and using the garden metaphor, we're going to plant a note. So I'm going to start typing. So we're going to make a vault about a garden. So this will be kind of the entry point to our vault. So I'll call it our garden gate. And so that's the title. Then all the markdown syntax applies. So I'll just go over this really briefly. You can look up markdown syntax. Dashes for, so I could say, let's see, our garden gate could consist, we could build our garden gate out of wood, out of metal, and different things. And then there's bold, just do this really fast for you, bold, italics, or no, let's see, highlighted. Oops. So there's different syntax, and you'll notice that it's hiding the syntax from you once you put it on there, which is kind of an interesting, it's a curiosity of Obsidian. It's the rendering engine that allows for this. So I can type a heading, and then when I go away from that line, then those will disappear. And then folding is also a thing. So this is beneath this heading, so I could fold this and collapse this. And then this has a command palette as well. So I can hit Command P and I could say fold all headings and lists, and it would fold them all up for me. You can also put checkboxes, all sorts of things. So that's just some example of formatting that you can do. So we've planted this note. What are some ideas for things we could plant in our garden? Anybody? A blueberry bush. Okay, so we could plant a blueberry bush. Anything else? Carrots. Okay. Anything else? Okay, great. That's fine. That's enough. Anything else? One more thing? Speak now. Tomatoes. Okay, tomatoes. Great ideas, folks. Okay. Um, and calendula. How about that one? Just volunteers. So this could be a part of a salad, maybe. So far in our bowl, we have some. Uh, what can we make with a blueberry plant? What's like a something we could make? A pie. Okay. Okay. So here's the magical part about Obsidian is, um, if I type bracket bracket, I could type in pi as a as basically a link. So this is like style links. So I could say I could make a pie. And if I click this, then it will create a whole other markdown file over here. So you'll see these. Now we have two files. And this blueberry bush, maybe these plants, this could be its own file as well. So blueberries are delicious. Devilish. Delicious. And now if I look at our little graph, if I go to graph view, then you'll see that we have, can you see that okay? Cool. So now we have our garden gate, and it's connected to our blueberry bush and our pie. So we have those different connections forming. And we might find, as we go along creating these different notes, that there are things that are similar. So a blueberry bush, for example, this is not a grape, a fruit, and maybe carrots. This also maybe has some kind of type. What's a carrot? Like a root vegetable? Can't type. Then we have tomatoes. So now we're getting all these notes, and so there's some of these things that are really they have similarities, and other things don't. They might not make sense somewhere else. Yeah. Yeah. So this is just showing the linear kind of. So yeah, I'll repeat the question. What if you wanted to write about a particular season that these plants grow in, which is a great question. So that might be a new idea for your vault. So you'd make a new file, and you'd say, seasons, and then our different seasons could be fall, winter, oops, summer, spring, and you can keep making these notes using the bracket notation. And let's say each of you can plant them in a particular season. And so what we're seeing is basically we're discovering a pattern that tomatoes and carrots and blueberries, all the things that are past our garden gate, they follow some kind of pattern. And that's where this concept of templates comes in. So I think I need to enable that because this is a fresh vault. This is what you'll be seeing. So I'll go to settings and core plugins. I can search in here for templates. It's already on. That's great. So I'll go to the command palette. And if I'm going too fast, I can show this after the talk. So then I have these. Oh, I know what I need to do. Okay. So in core plugins, you can go to the settings page for it. And you have to specify where your templates are going to live. So I'll just say templates. Now I'll make a folder called templates, and then in here I'll make a new note, and we can call this a plant. And a plant has a season. What else does a plant have? So shade, yeah, shade, sun, full sun. Okay. What else? Yeah. What? Companion plants? Yeah. What would go well with this plant? Great. So now that we have this in our templates folder, um, if I create a new note, that this might be strawberry. If I hit Command P and then type template, and then I can insert a template. And actually, it inserted this plant template because it's the only thing there. So let's make a template. What's another pattern that we've been seeing so far? Like maybe not a season, a plant, yeah, so a recipe. Okay, so a recipe has like, it serves, 10 people, preheat oven to, something, 200 degrees Fahrenheit. Ingredients, yeah, that's good. Ingredients. Maybe we want this to be like that, and then we want this to be instructions. So ingredients, maybe we want like a bulleted list, or maybe we actually want like a checklist, and then we put our ingredients on here, and then our instructions, start a fire, who knows. So this is all just plain text, and it's sitting in this template folder. And now, when I'm on my blueberry bush note, I can say, blueberries are delicious. I can make a great. And now if I type, I just hit bracket, and then it pulled up a fuzzy search, so I can hit P, and then it goes pie, spoon, recipes. So I can hit enter, and it links me to the pie note. So if I click on pie, now I'm in pie, there's nothing there, but I know that this is going to be delicious blueberry pie. Actually, this should probably be more specific. We should probably call this blueberry pie. And then you'll notice something interesting. This is something that if you were just to use text files in a folder, this would be very difficult to maintain. And this is the magical thing that Obsidian does. So if I hit enter, then it will say, do you want to update the links? Do you want to update internal links that link to this file? This will affect 2 links and 2 files. And so I would suggest clicking always update. So this updated 2 links and 2 files. So this got renamed. If we go back to our blueberry bush, this, remember we just wrote pie here? Now it says blueberry. No links were harmed in the process. So now I'll go ahead and insert a template, and now it pulls up different templates. So this is a recipe in this case. So if I hit enter, or I can also fuzzy search for that recipe, then it will insert that entire template, which is kind of nice. And this is great. Blueberry pie, it goes great with, carrots, good to eat in the winter. So this is also an opportunity to find surprising connections. Like, who knew that blueberry pie tasted so good with carrots? And you can click on these links, and it takes you to the other places. Let's look around the interface a little bit. I'll go ahead and let's see, start a fire. How do we make blueberry pie? Put blueberries on some crust, but make the crust first, and eat with whipped cream. Anything else? Okay, so those are instructions for blueberry pie. Let's say we want to make a strawberry pie. I'm hitting Command O, so I'm going to type strawberry pie. Great. So instructions. I'm going to do something interesting here. I could link to blueberry pie. I could say, hey, blueberry pie is similar to strawberry pie. Is the lag annoying if I'm talking and then you're seeing it later? It's fine. Okay. So one thing I can do here is if I put a bang right in front of this, then it will actually list the whole Blueberry Pie instructions. But we actually only want the instructions. So if I type a pound sign, we're gonna, okay, let me just review that one more time. So we have bang, bracket, blueberry pie, and the instructions are going to be similar. So we'll put an octathorpe right here, and then we'll go and then we'll go into instructions. And so now you'll notice that on the page, it's only embedded the things that were under that heading. And so that's going to be really helpful for bringing your ideas together from disparate places. You might have a thought and you want to just kind of consolidate a lot of other thoughts into one place. You see some similarities, you're reminiscing about days of yore, and you remember that your parents used to plant potatoes in straw or something, and then you can like add that to some other note somehow, maybe, I don't know. What's that? Keeps it dry. Yeah, exactly. So, no, I think you can do that in Notion with their double way linking though. But if I click on this link, it's here, and I can just edit it here, and then if I go back, you'll see the edit here. So I updated the instructions in the Blueberry Pie, and I see the new instructions here. Oh, that's fine. So I could say strawberry pie, and then strawberry pie doesn't actually have any sections, so I can only list strawberry pie. Okay, I'll do as you say, Ryan. Okay, so the strawberry pie. Oops. And then another heading. This is cool. And so now we're in blueberry pie, and we have linked to the strawberry pie, and we've linked to that another heading, and that has the instructions. Did you want me to link to the another heading? Okay. I think we're just linking to the another heading. I don't think it's creating the cycle that you want. Is this what you wanted? Here, let's split this. Split to the right. So now we have both of them up. I'll zoom out a little bit. Can you still read that? Okay, so now we have blueberry pie on the right, and then we got strawberry pie on the right. Yep. I love this. Cool. Yeah, it just it did a Stack Overflow, and it stops. Yeah. 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 That's clever. I like that. um, I don't know of any like real world applications for this, but yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, so let's see. This barely scratches the surface of Obsidian, but we have plenty of time because I just got to the part of the talk where we do the demo. So that's great. Uh, it's just using a normal operating system. Sorry. So the question was, right, yeah. So it'll use the native, the question was, where does it store the creation and modification dates? And it's just using the file system, like creating a file and it puts it in there. So if you wanted that, then you could add front which for those not familiar, front looks like this. And it's just a kind of extra data up above this. So if I switch to reading view, then the front matter actually is hidden. And edit view, it'll show up again. And you could basically put lots of metadata about your thing. So you could say, you could put your own created at date so that it doesn't get modified. The footnoter. So a lot of plugins will use it. Yeah. So there's a plugin ecosystem. There's all these community plugins, and because it's JavaScript, they give you lots of warnings about using it, and that they can't, you know, they can't ensure that no one has installed a crypto mining operation onto your thing. But you can turn community plugins on, and then you can browse them, and you can search for all sorts of different things. So I might search for like natural language dates, for example, and I could install this and enable it. This is just pulling the library from the GitHub. Yeah. So now that yes, you could. There's a .obsidian folder that gets created, and within there's a plugins directory, and that's where those files. The question was, can you write your own plugins for this and not worry about enabling the community plugins? And yes, you can. So I can say at today, and it'll put in today's date using this format. I could say at tomorrow, and at tomorrow. Say at I think next week or next month. It's cutting out again. Okay, so it's using that particular. But if you go into the settings for this, you can type in your own format. So if you prefer, something else here, then you can put it there. You can also say don't use a link. So then if I say at today, it'll just put it in right like that. Sometimes I'll be taking notes in a meeting, and I will put I would just use this kind of format, and then I might just say at today, and it'll put kind of a day and a timestamp right here, and then I can say something happened. Planted some seeds in the ground. Great. So you'll notice that I haven't created any folders yet. And as I've used Obsidian, I've experimented with a lot of different ways of organizing my knowledge, things I know, and folders are interesting because they silo your stuff. If you want something that needs to exist in two categories, you have to pick which category it goes into. And so one workaround for this is to use tags, which Obsidian supports. So you can just say blueberry pie is a recipe, for example, and then you've written something, and then you've realized that you'd like to update your template now because you think that's useful for every recipe that you add to your knowledge system, to your garden vault. So we can go into this plant and say into the recipe, and we could say this should also be tagged with recipe. And then that'll show up on your graph as a tag. So if I go back to the graph, and enable tags, you'll see this right here. And so you'll start to see these clusters form. And if you have something that doesn't really fit this category, then it can have multiple tags. Maybe it's a recipe and it's also a remedy for something. Who knows? And it allows you to have more connection in your vault, which is great because for a gardening vault like this, you would want to have lots of cross-pollination of ideas, and that's a little garden pun for you. So, yes, another question, and I'll repeat it into the mic. Yeah. Yeah. the former. So when you create a link, does it create a file, an actual empty text file? It doesn't. It just adds it in there as a potential link. And when you click on it, then it creates the file. So it might be hard to see on the screen, but if I go into Blueberry Pie here, these dates are kind of dark purple. And if I link to the seasons note that has been created, you'll notice a kind of a difference in color here. This is just CSS, so you can update. This is a big Electron app, so you can update it. You can write your own themes for it. There's a bunch of themes for it. The default is fine. There's a light mode and a dark mode. Let's see. Appearance. Say light mode, and we could use a garden vault. Why not green? There we go. So now our whole both looks slightly different. Let's see. Yeah, so these are some things that you can do for maximum enjoyment when you're using this. Let's just look around the interface a little bit. So here we can see these link dimensions. These are basically things that are pointing to this. So it's a little more helpful to pull up the local graph for this. So here's our local graph for Blueberry Pie. Let's go ahead and turn on arrows. So now you can see there are some things that are linking, like the garden gate is referencing Blueberry Pie, and then a blueberry bush is also referencing Blueberry Pie. Blueberry Pie references the winter. And then you can do all kinds of, you can drag this into your sidebar if you want. So when you navigate around, then this little local graph down here will update as you navigate, and it'll give you a little visual representation of where you are. And then you can also just view it in a list too, if you just want to see things that are linked to this, and you can go to those using this. But sometimes this is helpful to kind of get an idea of what's related. It gives you an automatic kind of mind map, which is nifty. Let's see, what else do you want to know about this tool? Any other questions? Yes. Yeah, I think both our systems probably work great for us. In either one of it, I can do a global search for text, and it will find it regardless of directories or anything. So I could look for pie, and then I would find a lot of pie, and you could do that in yours as well. What I've found is that because I just do global searches and I click on links, I don't really use this view very much, if at all, to like sort through things. I just have a thought of, oh, I'd like to make pie today, or there's this math equation that I want to remember. I don't know. Could be anything, and then I'm not quite sure. I don't remember what even I was trying to think about. It was something about the brain, and then I like search for the brain, and then it's, oh right, it's called a neuron, because I see it, and then I click on the neuron, and it takes me to the note about the axial ganglia, or whatever you're writing about, and so it's kind of like you're pulling on a thread, and it helps you to remember things, which that's kind of part of my goal. Alzheimer's runs in my family, and so there's this nun study that they analyzed a bunch of brains of nuns, and they noticed that they all had Alzheimer's, but they were asymptomatic. And it was because they were just learning new skills later in life, and they kept on learning and learning and learning. So that's kind of why I'm using Obsidian. It's kind of like this thought enhancer to like, click on stuff and yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but. Yeah, a lot of times I'll be looking at a single note, and I'll notice that it's related to other notes, but I'll update the filter to increase the depth of the graph, and then this will help me find things that are more than one hop away. And it gets a little crazy, but now instead of just a little wheel, like each one that you look at is going to be like a little wheel, I usually set the depth to 2, and it'll traverse the tree and find things that are related, and it'll take me back to my garden gate. But it looks like Blueberry Pie is a great entry point into your garden. Maybe you only made a garden because you were interested in Blueberry Pie, and so that's actually a better index. And it's kind of serves as a map of content. There's a whole community around Obsidian. If you search for stuff on YouTube, there's all these terms that get thrown around, like PS, personal knowledge management systems, and maps of content. So this kind of serves as a map of content. There's a really popular plugin called DataView that you can use to query your markdown like a database. And so your folders example, if you wrote a script to flatten that and rename things when there's naming conflicts, if things were, you could basically say, traverse the folder hierarchy. I've actually done this for somebody. There was a folder that was recipes, and wrote a Ruby script that just went in and wrote a tag that was octthread recipe, and then all that stuff was like just kind of flattened, and then it was all associated with the recipe tag, and then I could go into like a few of those recipes and tag them with other things so that they didn't have to be in mutually exclusive categories. They could exist in multiple categories. Does that answer your question a little bit? Yeah. Yeah, it feels kind of chaos. Another adage in this community is that you should let chaos reign and then rein the chaos in. So don't worry, just kind of start writing. Just start in here and like use pen and paper, and then reference, like, I think these pages are numbered, so I could put like parentheses. I happen to be on page 69, which is kind of funny, but you could just, link to different things like Nicholas Loman did. And it's helpful. Surprisingly helpful. Okay, now we're on target to talk about a plugin that I wrote. Does anyone want to hear about a plugin? Okay, let's hear about a plugin. So, I saw that Obsidian was very popular, and for some reason I couldn't find a thesaurus plugin, which seemed weird to me. And so I spent all this time looking for APIs that gave you that, and then it turns out that a dictionary plugin usually has a thesaurus. So when I searched for dictionary, I found a thesaurus. There was one that already existed. But I wrote a plugin because I'm not smart. I couldn't find a thesaurus plugin in the community plugins that were available. But it ended up being kind of cool. I called it Wordy, and it uses the backend that it uses is called Data Muse, which is interesting. It's pretty popular. I get 80 queries a second. It's a word finding query engine for developers. It's great for all those different things. So they have a pretty big API, and you can search for all sorts of different kinds of synonyms, hypernyms. So I just Googled how to write a plugin, and basically all you do is you fork the Obsidian sample plugin, which has everything that you need for interacting with Electron interface. And then I wrote some code. So this is the main TS file that comes with that sample. And you can go in and you can write things like what happens when the plugin gets loaded. And then you can also, those commands that we were using earlier, where you go Command P and then you type like save current file, or maybe I can say like review in Finder, and then it opens it right here in my Mac Finder. You can write those, and you can give them names and IDs. So I wrote one that's called synonyms. So the way this works is if I go back to this graph, let's say we don't like the word knowledge. Uh, type synonyms, and then I can get different synonyms for knowledge. I don't know why, but power is a very synonym for knowledge. I planning to debug this program. I think yeah, knowledge is power. So I guess I don't know if it's a hypernym or it's a direct synonym. So, yeah, so that basically, you write, the stat command, and then you have an editor callback, and it references the editor, and you can say editor.getSelection, which is what I've double clicked on this, and so it'll get that selection. And then as long as this selection isn't an empty string, then it does its thing. Otherwise, it politely wants you to select a line first, and it just creates a new notice. So you'll see that if I say find a synonym of nothing, then it will pop up this little notice over here that's select word first. And so that's from this line of code right here. Yeah, or just it's a notice. Uh-huh. Yeah. So otherwise it just awaits this function, this asynchronous function that delivers a promise. This is the data news API that is down here that I wrote. That just has a collection of functions. It's TypeScript, so you can write a nice little bunch of valid strings. These are all finally related words that are rhymes or approximate rhymes. So that's a query parameter in the database API that's available. So I could also find stuff that rhymes with. I think I only have the wrong version of the plugin installed on here, so I only have synonyms right now, but it supports other things, whatever the data news API supports. So then we've got some extra results. Await.promise at all, where it does a bunch of, I think there's a bunch of fetches in here somewhere. Yeah, it maps. Oh, this is where it's basically making 1, 2, 3. It's making 5 requests in the API using these query parameters, and then we map over all those URLs, and then we push a bunch of these promises. List out related words. Inside this function, we pass the parameter along with the root word, and then related words is just a private asynchronous method that gets this URL constructed, and then we just wait for the response, and then we wait for the data, and then we just return the results, and we expect that the network will be flawless, and we won't catch any errors ever. So this is happy path programming for you. So then I took this and I opened a pull request on the Obsidian repo. All the instructions are in here, and you basically make a pull request to Obsidian releases. So there's a bunch of people in here trying to get their plugin added. So here's somebody's plugin, and all it does is it says update the community plugins JSON file, and it adds where your plugin is located, the repository, a description of that plugin. So I thought, this is cool. I'm now an open source software developer. This is so much fun. And then, if we go back to so I published this repository, and it was kind of exciting to do, because it took like a few weeks before they would publish it. So now if I browse community plugins, this is just because I'm an arrogant man. I've discovered that there's 849 downloads of my plugin, which I've never experienced anything like this before. So that's kind of cool. And it was really interesting, because all of a sudden I just made something that I just needed, and then all these people from the community started piling on and requesting features and using some nomenclature, I guess, suggesting different things using word at. Yeah, lots of feature requests, I guess. Yeah. Or maybe that one's French. Are you sure? Okay, and then lines, just people talking, and then all of a sudden, someone was asking for root and prefixes and sub. Oh, where's the comment? This is interesting. Maybe I missed it somewhere. I'll find it. Automatically use word under cursor. It's probably this one. Oh, here we go. So then this person named Kevin chimed in and said, for what it's worth, I started working on a data news plugin before finding this one. Here's a screenshot of what I have so far. So that was cool. And then I said, I like the novel approach with using the multiple question marks. I'm aiming to chain data news queries together to make helpful tools for poets and lyricists. Let's talk soon. And then I learned that that's just the data news is wildcard syntax, and I'm an idiot. I didn't know that. But that's just how you query the API. So that's been my journey with Obsidian thus far. And if you haven't tried it out, I'd recommend it. It's you own your own data, and then it's highly extensible. It's not very difficult to write a simple plugin that interacted with this interface and allowed me to do a lot of things. And there's an absurd number of things that people do with this. If I just go back to, I guess this is my personal fault. I have a few core plugins. I'm also using a number of plugins for helping me with markdown tables, which if you've ever done a markdown table, that can be a pain. Stuff with calendar view, where you can write queries. So I'm using that. If I go to, if there's nothing embarrassing, there probably was. Oh my god. So this is a data query that just says -- data view list from recipe. So it's really simple. So I have this like top level recipe, and then I have all these different things in here: taco soup, smash burgers, pizza dough, then like random thoughts on this, and we're getting personal. So I think that's all I had. That's all I wanted to share. Just the 2 demos, and we have 5 minutes left for Q&A. We did it. Thank you so much. Obsidian is not open source. Yeah, they just distribute the electron binary, or the whatever it is, they package it up. For Obsidian, like they're all markdown files. So I can say, let's see. It's going to night. What do we call this? Garden? Yeah, so I can. So this is our vault so far right now. Gosh, hopefully I don't have anything embarrassing. Okay. Guys are getting really suspicious. I keep saying, hopefully I don't have anything embarrassing. So these are. Just embarrassing. So these are all the files that we just created. If we show there's a hidden.obsidian directory. Can you read what this is? Is this like? Yeah, we can cut carrots. A rabbit there? I don't know. Root vegetable. Yeah. Yeah. This is what's inside the Obsidian directory. There's a bunch of JSON files basically that configure the whole thing, and then there's plugins. So this is the natural language dates plugin that I recently installed, and it just has a JavaScript file, a manifest, some data. When you update any settings, it just writes it to like hotkeys.json, core plugins, and all this stuff is just text files that you can synchronize using Git or some other tool, which is nice. To Obsidian. I guess VS Code. There's a plugin in VS Code that you can that supports the bracket syntax, and will render uh, a graph with vertices and edges on it. Yeah, and it's neat. I've used the iCloud sync as well, and it worked pretty well. When I had it on like 4 devices, it wasn't working very well, and then iCloud itself started failing me. But that was just some weird Apple thing. You can also use it with Google Drive or Dropbox, and or Git, yeah. To get it on your, because they have an Obsidian app for Android and iPhone, and to get that working, your markdown files need to be in an iCloud directory on iPhone, for example, or you can pay for their sync service, and then or have or three backups. Who knows? Mine, you might have seen every once in a while there's like a commit message thing that goes by. So I could say backup, create backup, and then it will commit 0 files, and then it will tell me that there's no changes to push. But this is running Git in the background, and it pushes just to my private GitHub repo. So I just do that as a way of feeling safe, and then I can deal with merge conflicts if I need to on my own. Let's see, what else is cool? There's a voice recorder. I could talk about recipes, and it'll put a recording in here. You can drag and drop images. So here's my graph. I could take a screenshot and then go back, and I could hit paste, and it'll just put this PNG file in the just in the vault in the folder itself. So now I have an image here, and it looks pretty nice. You can embed PDFs. You can do all kinds of stuff, really. They just introduced this new feature called Canvas, which is kind of cool. I was playing around with it earlier. Untitled 2 Canvas. No, that's not it. Talk Canvas. Yeah. I was just kind of messing around. But it's kind of similar to like Figma. You can do those things. You could add a note from the vault, so I could say the garden vault story or whatever. And it's just a big, like, it's kind of a layer on top of your notes. So if you want to make a flow chart about something you're talking about, or if you want to make a flow chart using notes, or these are just little cards, then you can. You can kind of connect notes and see them visually here. So that's kind of a cool feature that they just added for visualizing things. So I think if we remove the folder, and then we open with text edit, then it's just a bunch of text, a bunch of notes, illegible basically, but yeah, just JSON, yeah. Oh yeah, I think so. So going about story. Yeah, let's make something new. I have 1 minute. Canvas, code no canvas. What's your name? Okay. Bob. Alright. Thing 1. Add cart note from vault seasons. So now if we go to our graph view, and we look for season. Let's see, seasons. I don't think it's interesting. I don't know if it shows that connection. Yeah, I think it's kind of its own separate thing. I don't really use it that much. I could link to it from here though, and I could click on Bob.canvas, and it would take us to your special canvas node. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Great. Any other questions? Cool. All right. Thanks.
So I want to say thanks to everybody who watched on the stream and put up with the audio. It's kind of weird. I swear it worked if I didn't look, or only if I looked at it, and it would just fix every single time. It's weird. But everybody here, feel free to stay and hang out and bother him with questions. I hope. And I'll see you guys at the next web devs.